The reading is taken from Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 to 20, on page 985. If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault, just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take 2 or 3 others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly I tell you that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am with them. This is the word of the Lord.
Peter, thanks very much for reading. No one likes to be told off, do they? Does anyone here like to be told off? I don't think anyone really likes to be told off. We don't like to be given a detention at school. Not that any of the younger ones here ever get detentions at school. No one likes to get a warning at work. Our culture is very individualistic, very proud. You can't tell me what to do, we say indignantly. And maybe we use Jesus' words earlier in Matthew's Gospel in the Sermon on the Mount to defend ourselves. Do not judge, he said, or you too will be judged. He said, why do you look at a speck in a brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank coming out of your own eye? Who are you to tell me what to do, we think. So it comes as a nasty shock. Did it come as a nasty shock as we read that Bible passage? To hear at the start of that reading, verse 15, if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault. Go and point out their fault. Wow. Our teaching this morning is going to challenge our individualism, our pride. And it's going to challenge us as well about what church is. What is it that we've signed up to if we're Christian people? Jesus says, first of all, the big thrust of these verses is to say, point out one another's sin. The first half of our reading sets up a kind of complaints process or a kind of disciplinary procedure for dealing with a fellow Christian's sin. At our church school over at Stepney Greencoat, they have a rainbow system. You start the day in the middle of the rainbow, and then if your behaviour is good, you go up through the colours until you get to the top of the rainbow. And if your behaviour is bad, you get put down the rainbow. And if you get to the top of the rainbow, you get sent to see the head teacher for a kind of reward and a head teacher's award sticker. And if you get sent to the bottom of the rainbow, you also have to go and see the head teacher. But you don't get a sticker, that's right. You don't get a sticker on that occasion. And actually, this is a similar kind of process, isn't it, for dealing with bad behaviour. It tells us to start the process privately, one-to-one, and then it tells us how to escalate it if the person doesn't respond. Now, let me ask the younger ones here. It's mainly my children, I think. There are some others here. Younger ones here. Yes, thank you. Amelia, you can tell us, what should you do if someone else is naughty at school? What are you told to do? If you see someone doing something they're not supposed to do at school, what are you supposed to do? Tell a teacher. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? You're supposed to tell a grown-up. Okay, if you're a child at school and you see someone else misbehaving, you tell a grown-up. What about if you are a grown-up? What about if you are a grown-up? Because that's the situation that's being dealt with here, isn't it? Jesus says, be a grown-up by speaking to the person about their sin. We do that, first of all, privately. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see someone doing something wrong, I'm tempted to ignore it. Okay, this is the typical kind of British middle-class response, isn't it? I just pretend I haven't seen it. I don't want to get involved, nothing to do with me. Okay? Or the other temptation is to tell everyone about it, grumble about the person, make sure everyone knows just how bad their behaviour is. Everyone, that is, except the person themselves. And I still won't speak to them about it. That's the temptation, isn't it? Do you see how poisonous that is? Because it leads to a kind of community of whispering and backbiting and so on. No, says Jesus, go and speak to the person themselves, just between the two of you. No one else needs to know about it. That's especially important if the sin is against you personally. You might see from the footnote in our Bibles that some of the ancient copies of Matthew's Gospel say, if your brother sins against you. If that happens, it's all the more important that we speak to them about it. It's very corrosive if we hold on to grudges and we let them fester into bitterness and anger because we feel someone's done something against us. No, we need to go and speak to the person to try and resolve the issue. But you've got to do it in the right way. We're not talking about following the what some people might call the East End way, where you go round to that person and you confront them loudly in the street. Come over here, I want to have a word with you. I think a few people recognise that. No, you take them aside and you raise it with them privately. No one else needs to know about it. Do you see what the aim is at the end of verse 15? It says, if they listen to you, you've won them over. You've won them over. The word there means profit. You've gained them. That's the aim. To win them back to God and to win them for restored relationship with you. So listen, if someone takes you aside, you're on the receiving end of this process. And if someone, a Christian brother or sister, says to you in a godly and humble way, they're concerned about your behaviour. Or maybe they say that you've offended them personally in some particular way. Our natural, immediate instinct is to be defensive, isn't it? I'm as bad as anyone at this. Be defensive. To think of all the ways that we can justify ourselves and explain how actually we're pure. But instead, we need to take a deep breath. We need to listen carefully to what the person is saying. Maybe we need to clarify with them, not in a defensive way, but just clarify with them why they've raised it, why they think there's a problem. And then if we can, we need to apologise sincerely for what we've done wrong and ask their forgiveness and mend our ways. As it happens, I was rebuked by someone just a few days ago. I said something stupid, which I didn't realise could offend them. And the person spoke to me about it very soon afterwards, privately, just as this says that they're supposed to. And it helped that I knew he was a godly brother. It made it easier for me to hear his rebuke. And I was able to apologise straight away. And do you know, our relationship wasn't just healed, I think it was strengthened by that process. I think it was strengthened. Knowing that a brother was concerned for me, cared enough to point out my sin in a humble and gentle way. That's the aim of speaking to the person. Restoring and even strengthening relationships. Their relationship with God, the Father, but also with the fellow Christian. What though if the person doesn't accept the rebuke? They defend themselves. They say, actually, no, I don't accept it. I think I've been entirely justified in what I've done. You're making a fuss about nothing. Well, Jesus tells us what to do next. They tell us to go back with one or two others. The Old Testament law said every matter must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. And the witnesses will confirm that we're not barking up the wrong tree. They might confirm gently to the person. They might say, no, he's right, or she's right. This is a concern. There'll also be witnesses in case the situation gets ugly. The person starts getting angry or flinging accusations of their own. But if that doesn't work, 2 or 3 others coming with you to speak to the person, it needs to go to the whole church. And if they refuse to listen to the whole church, the person is to be treated as a pagan or a tax collector. That means to be treated as a complete outsider. Now, it's really rare, I think, for a church to have to say publicly together to someone, we don't recognise you as a member of our church. That would be a really strong thing to say, wouldn't it? It hasn't happened here, I don't think, for a long time. But there are occasions when those sorts of conversations go on, not before the whole church, but certainly saying to someone that you shouldn't take a full part in church life until some sin in your life, something persistent, deliberate, a public sin is resolved. In particular, every now and then, the way this most often comes up is when we have to say to someone that it's not appropriate for them to be baptised, or for their children to be baptised, or for them to take communion, while they remain in deliberate, persistent sin. Now, thankfully, no one so far has made a scene about it. Usually people are embarrassed and upset, and they go off and maybe try and find the church that takes Jesus' words a bit less seriously. Or maybe they drop out of church altogether. It's always sad to lose someone under those circumstances. We never do it lightly, but it's important as well that we take Jesus' words seriously and we don't shirk it, because that's the temptation. It's important for the individual themselves. You see, this is a pastoral act. When we point out where someone's falling down, they need to know that their behaviour is not okay. Now, we want to welcome anyone and everyone into church. We don't say that you need to clean up your act before you come into church on a Sunday morning. That's not what we're saying at all. We explicitly welcome anyone to come as a guest to one of our Sunday services and at some other times during the week. If you've come this morning and you know that you're not living as a Christian at the moment, you're very welcome. Okay? We want you to meet with Jesus, and only then to start to live consistently with your faith in Jesus Christ. So if you're still working out where you stand with Jesus, please keep coming. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the person who says they want to belong. They regard themselves as a Christian. If that's the case, then Jesus expects some level of consistency in your behaviour. Okay? Doesn't expect us to be perfect, but expects to see some determination, some progress in godliness, as we've been seeing in our home group studies in the book of James. If you say you believe in Jesus, but you deny his words by your actions, what use is that? And if we point out your faults, not just personally and privately, but then in a small group and then as a whole church, and you still won't accept it, then we have to take the evidence of your actions and not just your words and say, well, actually, we're going to regard you as an unbeliever until the evidence shows otherwise. It's not pastorally fair to carry on treating someone as if everything's okay if they're living fundamentally at odds with Jesus' teaching. This is a pastoral matter. It's important for the individual. And as we come to communion a little bit later on in our time together this morning, just be thinking, am I fundamentally living consistently with Jesus' teaching, albeit with the faults and character weaknesses and struggles that we always have? Or is there some basic sin that I just haven't repented of? It's been pointed out to me and I'm refusing to sort it out in my life. In which case it wouldn't be appropriate for you to come and take the bread and wine of communion. Go and sort that out before the Lord. It's important for you in your standing in the Christian life. It's important as well for the rest of the fellowship. You see, if I see another member of my church giving in to a sin that I'm also tempted by, my own resolve is going to weaken, isn't it? If they can get away with that and still be part of church, maybe I can as well. Why should I battle against sin if others are not battling? And it's important because of the public witness of the church. Like it or not, people who aren't Christians judge Jesus Christ and what it means to follow him from what they see from us, from what they see of members of the church. And so if someone who appears to be a member of the church is acting inconsistently, that reflects badly on Jesus. And the church needs to distance ourselves from that person and to make clear that they don't represent Jesus and his church. You might be asking, how does this all fit with Jesus' commands back in chapter 7 to say, don't judge? It's a good question. We need to emphasize, let me say again, that I'm talking about relationships within the church, between Christians. Okay, it's not our job to judge outsiders. It's important too that our attitude is right in rebuking our brother or sister. We need to check for planks in our own eye before we point out specks in others. That's part of the reason for the second stage of taking witnesses with us to talk to someone. If you're regularly picking up other people on their faults, but others in the church aren't backing you up, they're not confirming that action is needed, well, maybe you are guilty of judgmentalism and you need to rein it back a bit. It will take godly wisdom to know where chapter 7 applies, do not judge, and where this passage applies, point out their sins. Let's go on, though, to see just why this is so important. Jesus says, point out one another's sins. Why? Because we're members of the heavenly family. And that slightly blurry picture down there is a picture of you lot and me, taken a year or so ago. We're members of the heavenly family. Did you notice in these verses the language of relationships, the language of family? Verse 15, if your brother or sister sins. Verse 19, if two of you agree, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. Verse 20, it's where two or three are gathered in Jesus' name. You see, a church is not a social club where like-minded people just kind of drop in when they feel like it. And if they don't like it anymore, they just drift off. Maybe they find another church that they feel a bit happier in, or maybe they take some time off church. No, when you become a Christian, you automatically join a heavenly family. You have a new father and new brothers and sisters. That's one way of saying what it means to be a Christian. It's to be born again into a new family. Do you realise that? That's almost a definition of a Christian. There are lots of other ways that you could define a Christian, but that's one of them. There's no such thing as a Lone Ranger Christian. And like it or not, we have a profound responsibility for one another when we become brothers and sisters. Now, for some of us, I'm guessing that's probably a deeply uncomfortable idea. Maybe you don't have a happy family background, and so the language of family makes you feel awkward or even threatened. Maybe you've had a bad experience. Maybe someone's been controlling, or they've let you down badly in the past, or even abused you. I know that there are members of our church family here for whom those different things have been the case. The heavenly family should be different. We're not perfect. I know that we, the church family here at St. Anne's, are not perfect. But if you're a Christian, this is the kind of relationship that you're signing up to. Someone who's accountable to brothers and sisters. By making St. Anne's your church, you're giving your brothers and sisters here permission. In fact, you're giving us responsibility to do what Jesus is saying in these verses. So if someone rebukes you for a particular sin that they've noticed, and you react by saying, "How dare you? Who gives you the right?" Well, the answer is, Well, Jesus actually. Jesus gives us not just the right, but also the responsibility. I don't have a choice, we can say. Jesus has made you my brother or sister. Cain, right back in the early chapters of Genesis, Cain famously asked God, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Well, Jesus says, yeah. We are, in a sense, keepers of one another. We have responsibility to one another. So just take a look around you for a minute. Look at this motley crew of faces. Look right around you. Don't be shy. Turn around. Look at one another. You might think you don't have much in common with each other. You might think you don't even like some of the people that you can see around you. But these are the people, if you're a member of St. Anne's, these are the people that Jesus has given you responsibility for and has given them responsibility for you. Looking out for one another is how we display the loving care of our Father. We started with this theme this morning, didn't we? The loving care of our Father. Do you remember what we saw last week? In verse 12, Jesus says, "What do you think? A man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away. Will he not leave the 99 on the hills and go to look for the one that's wandered off? And if he finds it, truly I tell you, he's happier about the one sheep than about the 99 that did not wander off. In the same way," he says, this is the point of the story, "your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish." And then it follows straight on with today's passage. If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault. One of the specific ways that our Father in heaven, the loving shepherd, cares for his sheep, his flock, is by giving us responsibility for one another. If we spot a brother or sister wandering away, we're acting as agents of God, under shepherds, helpers of the chief shepherd, to go after them and to warn them, to show them their fault, to urge them to come back. Now that's so different, isn't it, from the dog-eat-dog world that we live in, the culture outside. Remember the question that sets up this whole section of Matthew's Gospel. It's in verse 1 of chapter 18, where the disciples come and say, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Now, if that's our question, if our attitude is all about who's the greatest, it's rivalry, then we're never going to seek to correct a brother or sister, are we? Unless we're doing it with the attitude of showing how much greater we are than they are, trying to make ourselves look good in the process. No, this is supposed to be a heavenly family. It's not a competition. We're all sinners, saved by grace. And as humble children, as fellow sinners, we need to help and correct one another in living out our new identity as members of the family. As we do that, we're exercising the authority that was given to the very first disciple. Do you remember when we looked at chapter 16 of Matthew some time ago? Peter was told, "On this rock, Peter, I will build my church." Jesus says, "I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Well, now Jesus gives the same authority. He uses almost exactly the same words to every disciple, to every Christian. Isn't that amazing? It's not even given just to church leaders. It's very striking, isn't it? Did you notice that in our passage this morning, church leaders aren't mentioned once? It's a responsibility that all brothers and sisters share. And our aim is that the things on earth line up with the things in heaven. The things on earth need to line up with the things in heaven. So if we see a member of our church family, one of our brothers or sisters, living in a way that's not consistent with the things of heaven, well, we can say to them, actually, that won't be appropriate in heaven, and so you need to cut it out now here on earth. The last couple of verses of our passage emphasize that link between the relationships with one another and the relationship with our Father in heaven. Verse 19, Jesus says again, "Truly I tell you that if two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I," says Jesus, "with them." Now that verse 20 there, isn't just a happy kind of fridge magnet verse, you know, the sort of thing to put on a flowery poster and stick on the wall. Although it's a lovely verse, but it underlines, doesn't it, the seriousness of our commitment to one another as church. You see, church isn't just a social club that we drop into from time to time if we don't have anything else going on. It's an outpost of the heavenly family. We are bound together in Jesus' name. This is where he's made known most clearly and most fully. And our Father loves to hear our collective prayer. There's so much more that could be said. In a way, I would love to kind of keep going, use that extra hour, because it's such a rich few verses, isn't it? But actually, I think what we're going to do is, I think next Sunday, why don't we have a question time on this short series of 3 talks from Matthew 18. So if there are any particular questions in your head from today, or in fact from last week's talk, just be thinking about them. We can discuss them with one another over tea and coffee, but you might want to think, actually I could ask that next Sunday when we have a few minutes question time. So should we do that? Feel free to jot down a question or email me during the week in advance, or just bring it next Sunday, and we'll have a few minutes of discussion all together on this short series. But for now, I'd like us to close this part of our service, the sermon, by turning to the Lord's Prayer, which is on the front of your service sheet. Actually, I think we can probably have it on the screen, can't we? It's the next thing. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. The Lord's Prayer. Some people call it the family prayer. And hopefully we can see why. Do you see, it starts with our Father in heaven. It's not even just my Father. It's our Father as the family of God, the outpost of the heavenly family here at St. Anne's. It asks for his will to be done on earth as in heaven. Do you see, lining up the things on earth to match the things in heaven? And we ask for forgiveness as we will forgive others. That's going to be the big theme of next week's Bible passage. So let's just take 1 or 2 moments of quiet, look over those words of the Lord's Prayer, think about the things that we've been talking about, and then I'll lead us in saying the Lord's Prayer together. So let's say the family prayer together, shall we? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.